Cool. My name is Thomas. I'm from Goodvertising, which is a movement to change advertising and brands into a force for good. And we're at the Cannes Lions press conference and we're judging the Sustainable Development Goal Lions, which in so many aspects is probably the most important award. And I think actually our jury president, David Droga, put it very well that the thing that we looked at was, quite frankly, intention changes shared, but impact really do change everything. So the interesting thing was that we probably judged the work a lot harder than everybody else, in the sense that, we weren't convinced by shiny ads or great storytelling. We were, incredibly focused on the real impact. And some of the cases, early stage cases with potential impact, was even killed for not having that substantial impact already now. And scalability was incredibly important for us as well. So with this idea, something that potentially could be scaled up, and I think if you look at last year's Grand Prix winner, the Palau Pledge, that was also something that was material to, I think, its success. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the trends, I mean, it's still very much diversity. It's very much top of the agenda. Plastic is also still very much top of the agenda. So it does seem like there is, these fashion, these trends that move to the SDGs, which is quite unfortunate because the SDGs is really an opportunity to, across those 17, to tackle some of the world's biggest challenges, and particularly two was really lacking that or three that's so material to the change that we want to see. One was hunger, poverty, and obviously climate change. So very, very few entries in those three incredibly important ones. Fourth actually being sanitation, clean energy. We didn't see much. So from that standpoint, the SDGs almost build up like a core where some of the core things like hunger and some of those things are, and then builds out. So that core really missed substantial, great, impactful entries, and I was incredibly sad about that. I was incredibly sad about not seeing more in the climate change category. I mean, I've and this has been a project that I've followed from its early stages, what it was called the Åland Index that won a couple of Grand Prix, and today is called the Duconomy. It's basically a credit card where they turn each of your purchase into a carbon estimate. And the fun little thing is that instead of just having a credit limit, they also have a carbon limit. And when you reach that carbon limit, there's two things you could do. Either you can offset, or you can go into investments in carbon-related projects. It's a project that I absolutely love because, first of all, it goes head-on in the elephant in the room, consumption. At some point, we might have to rethink the way that we buy and buy too much, more than we need. The reason why that project probably didn't cut across, bronze itself is a huge accomplishment, but it got 3 bronzes, and I think the thing that didn't really pull it further than that was the point I talked about earlier that, it's still early stage. The credit card is still not yet launched. It will launch in October 2019. So maybe that in this particular category was entered a little bit too early because, as I said, we're dissecting this almost like a detective in Speed, so it didn't really make the cut. It's one of my favorite projects, and I do hope that it will get a second chance somehow, and I'm sure that it will fare well in some other award competitions during this year. So one of the projects we did see from Russia, the Koshko project, was actually a project that got debated quite a bit in the jury, and there were jury members that was very vocal about the importance of that project. And especially because I think, it tends to be sometimes that we take a very kind of single-minded focus on some of these issues. But what we liked about that project was that it brought a very kind of local insight into play, and also the fact that the risk in a country like that to speak up as they did is just substantial. So obviously, I mean, we've also have the glass lion, but obviously, you know, when people put their lives online, I mean, that's a different thing. And I think that was really something that we debated very seriously in the jury, because as I said, you know, impact can be many things, and you know, I think a lot of us felt that, you know, we kind of wanted to honor that piece of work for its bravery. But again, you know, when you dissect things and you look at the numbers and you try and say what impact did it really have, I think that was probably where, you know, it still got an amazing award, but where it probably didn't really make it above that watermark up to, for example, silver or gold.